And we are live. Welcome everybody to another episode of You Know What? Let Me Just Say podcast. I'm your host Ray. With me, as always, we have Father.
Rest in peace to Jay Rawlings. That was one of the presidents of Ghana, one of the premier presidents of Ghana. Rest in peace to my brother, to that elder, I should say.
And we also have Dion.
What's going on, people?
Gentlemen, how we doing tonight?
Doing.
That's best to say. It was funny you was talking about your laptop, Father. I went back to started playing Garou Mark of the Wolves. Fuck going through that story mode because everybody just reads your fucking inputs. I don't know why.
Ray, that is an SNK game made in the late '90s. What the hell did you think was gonna happen?
I keep forgetting that. It's like why do I continue to torture my? Oh yeah, it's an SNK in the late '90s.
Now you want to play a game that reads your motherfucking inputs? Play Dead or Alive.
uh,
All right, I can like what was it? A1 Alpha 1 2 whatever her name is. I remember like playing her. She did nothing but read inputs.
No, Alpha 152, the cheapest character ever made in a fighting game.
Yes, yeah,
But
fuck that kid.
she's designed that way because she doesn't have a wake up. All you literally have to do is knock her down.
Mm.
She doesn't even have like that get up attack. She doesn't have any of that. Just knock her ass down.
put that back. Delete that.
Yeah.
Huh?
That's all right. So with that,
That's December.
with that being said, let's get on to the show. As of now, Joe Biden is our president. Now, you all already know how we feel about Joe Biden. Lesser of the two evils, if that's what you really want to call it. So we already know. You should already know how we feel. So the question I wanted to ask to these gentlemen is Biden's in. What's next? And I want to start with you, Father.
What's next? That's a very interesting question. I already know what's next. It's going to be racism with the mask on. Just like they was telling us to wear masks for COVID, the mask of racism is going to come right the fuck back on when Joe Biden, takes that seat in his inauguration on January 20th. So what's next is up to black people, honestly. That's the real answer. What's next is up to black people and how they want to maneuver in a Biden presidential term. You know what I'm saying? Now he says all that shit about, oh, we're gonna make sure that the black community builds wealth and Kamala Harris and all this shit. And I'm just like, bruh, at this point in time, you should know that black people, they're not really messing with you like that. And they have every justifiable reason to be not messing with you. You not only approved a bill that enabled CIA to put crack cocaine in the streets. You also were very, very, very famous for that 94 crime bill, which locked up a lot of black men. So two things that you were a part of literally almost crippled the black, well, not even almost, it crippled the black community in ways that we're still feeling the effects today. That's why it's so easy for people to fucking criticize black men as we are today because they don't know what the fuck happened to us that made us this way in the first place. They only see the end result and then they base us and they judge us on the shit that they don't know happened to us. And this is not just some shit that we've been dealing with and it's over. This is shit that we are still feeling the residual effects of. Little young boys grew up without fathers, and then young boys that also grew up without the fathers were subject to teachers in school that didn't really give a fuck about them, and then they push certain medicines on them because they say they too active or they say they too hyper, or they try to make them sit still. And we all know how young black boys are. We don't really sit still. We want to be engaged. We want to work shit with our hands. We want to run around and just be boys. But the way the school system works, you can't really do that. So from a young age, we're already polarized as it is. And then as we grow up and then we see images of violence, we see people not making it. The only thing that we can really aspire to be is basketball players or football players or a rapper or some shit. And you so many black men die trying to chase that dream without realizing that, yo, you could do something with yourself. You can, work with your hands and make an honest living. A plumber makes a lot of money, an electrician makes a lot of money, but they don't teach these young boys these things because of the results of what Biden did with crack cocaine and the 94 crime bill. So when I try to explain this, I get Negroes that are so invested in the Democratic plantation that they think they're trying to tell me, oh, we gonna give them a chance. Oh, well, at least Trump is out. And I'm like, the last 4 years when Trump was president, the only thing he really did was extend the same racism he had for black people to everybody. That's really the only thing he did. Yeah, the man was incompetent. No shit. We've been saying the same shit since before he became the Republican nominee. But now in 2020, with a pandemic coming, with we're in an economic crisis and shit, black people, like, all of this shit affects us. But the number one thing that has always affected us, regardless of whether we're going through a pandemic or not, is white supremacy and racism. So until black people actually realize that and mobilize themselves to rid themselves of such an institution, and by doing that, you're not supposed to be even subscribed to Republicans and Democrats, because both of them ain't gonna do shit for you in the first place. They haven't done shit for you since America was a country in itself. Why the fuck would they start now? Yeah, we can talk about, yeah, well, they ended slavery and shit like that. You weren't Slavery wasn't ended, it was emancipated. The slaves were emancipated, they had to work for their freedom. So all this shit going on, and people just really don't want to read between the lines. They just want to do what makes them feel good. They want to go outside and, celebrate Trump is gone, and, party and just buck dance for, white people, for the white people that say they love them, but really don't. Because if they did, they would have been rioted and pushed the fucking agenda for black people to get something in this country that they built. So when it comes to that, I'm just like, to answer your question, it's up to black people. It's not up to Biden.
You know what's funny? Because I think, and you probably done seen it on the list I gave you. The fucking thing I wrote down was what as we as black people need to accomplish in these Biden years. So it's funny you say that because I've always, I mean, I'm gonna get to Dion, but that's just one of the things where I wanted to see us go. It's just like, all right, now we got Biden, and what's next? And what does us as black people need to accomplish in these Biden years? Since finally we got Trump out, but I'm gonna go to Dion. Dion, what do you got anything to say?
Well, the way I see it is this. Number one, everything Father said is 100% true. But I also feel like, okay, this is when we this is when we set the stage and make our demands. Hey, motherfucker, if you want to be in this motherfucker for a second term, this is what the fuck we, the black community, need before you even think of getting a vote from us, and build a list of demands from there. He can't just you know let's be honest. We know who put him there. We're not even going to match that. We know who put him there. Now it's a matter of what do we get for doing it.
Is that it, Dion?
Yeah.
All right. So as I was saying, one of the questions I did, and I don't know if Father answered it, but I'm gonna just say it again. Um, what as we as black people need to do to what it needs to accomplish in these Biden years. The one thing I'm going to say, we need to get our leverage up. And the one thing I want black, we should be doing this anyway, no matter who's in our president. But I really want us to do this in our Biden years. That way we can have leverage that we can pull into the next the next election where we could like ask for tangibles and like increase our black wealth. If we really about being woke as everybody says we are, then we really need to work on ourselves. If they have plans for the black community, we need to make sure that we keep our foot on their necks because I've said this before. I love Obama in Obama years, but I've said this before. Black people treated Obama like a celebrity. That's why I hate it when like most of the black people said Obama ain't do nothing for black people, they do nothing for gays. And I always said, well, y'all really didn't do shit in the Obama years anyway. Y'all motherfucker treated him like a fucking celebrity instead of a motherfucking president. So
Facts.
so if y'all gonna like fucking go at Obama, y'all should really look at yourself in the mirror. And one thing I will say, and one thing positive I would say about the Trump era is that black people did realize that if we don't really get on our shit, we really need to look. We're not going to be taking it seriously, and it was kind of looking like that in the Trump years because let's be real, like Trump kind of like beefed more with the Mexicans than he did with the blacks. Yes, he said some
Right.
shit about black women, and but he done said some shit about everybody. Like I know black women was like really taking it personally when he went at Maxine Waters and other people, but y'all forget he went at LeBron James, he went at fucking liberal leftists. If anybody he was more worried about was like Antifa and getting that wall built up, which he didn't, and you know try to get us to pay for it and all that stuff. He never really like been in on the promises that he wanted to keep, but he tried. But one thing it showed black people is that we need to have tangibles for ourselves. We need to like do for ourselves because obviously um, the neither side is not going to do shit for us. So we need to do shit for ourselves. So us, what I want to see as black people is we need to build our own wealth, and it's you can see it starting. And that's another thing. It started with the entrepreneurship, but if everybody that voted for Biden really thinks that he's going to do shit for us, we need to keep our foot on the necks, and hopefully he does work with Ice Cube with the contract with the Black America because I feel like there like if you really look at the contract, there are things that it does help Black America, even though like y'all want to call Cube a coon for like trying to work with Trump and all that other stuff, which I think you guys are really asinine for doing that. Y'all really
That's
should
a
be looking
reach.
at things.
That's a big
Yeah,
reach.
was a big reach.
Calling Ice Cube a coon for trying to help us out. That's a major reach.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. Yeah, I agree with you because it's not a reach at all. The man's been like he's been for Black America for the longest, especially since someone that's you
Right.
know
No, I'm saying for those who are referring to him as a coon, they're the ones reaching.
yeah. But like I said, people don't know their history. This is why, which is why I get angry. It's like before y'all chastise him, man, y'all at least should, and yeah, y'all should at least know why he did it or what he was doing it for. It seems like no one was listening to him. I think they just wanted to curse him out. So, and I think Father like put that point out there, like we rather like jump on someone's throat than really try to see why or really do that. Like look at the context. So that's most of what I think should be done. Anything else before we move on to our next topic?
Fuck Biden.
Okay. With that being said, with a new president, we get a new vice president. The first female president, Kamala Harris, and for a lot of black women, the first black woman female president and
Vice president, but
vice president. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Um, but the one thing I have been seeing that before she even got, before when she was running for president, not even for vice president, when she was running for president, people was, trying to find out what her nationality is. If she really is black. Yes, she went to a HBCU, but if she really is black, where her parents from, if she's really black or Indian. They say she's Jamaican, but they from India. But now you kind of seeing people just accepting her as a black woman. Um, so what I want to ask you fellas, like Kamala being president, is this symbolism or significance?
I think it's both. To answer your question, I think it's both. It is significant that she's going to be the first female vice president. But here's the thing, right? Because there's a lot, because here's where that intersectionality shit comes in. And this is why I always say intersectionality does not benefit black people as a collective. Kamala Harris is now vice president elect of the United States. But what do you see? She's the first woman of color, not black. She's the first Asian, not black. And then they add in, oh, she's the first black woman. But here's the thing: there's a one drop rule in America. We know that if you are biracial, you are considered black before anything else, right? This was the agenda. So I find it very funny that they don't apply the one drop rule when it comes to this particular woman. When CNN was talking about it, they said woman of color. When CNN was talking about it, when she was doing her whole rounds and shit. Remember, she was raised by her mom primarily. Her father's Jamaican, but she was raised by her mother primarily. Her mother is Indian. So of course she's going to identify more with her Indian side. Now, yeah, she went to a HBCU and did all that shit, but that's the same shit that we clown the you blacks for. The people that found their blackness at fucking college and be writing stupid shit like black men are the white people of the black community. Those are those type of motherfuckers. So they go to these little colleges, or they go to these little colleges and shit. And not only that, Kamala Harris was also an AKA. And the AKA was notorious for being hella motherfucking colorist. So of course she's gonna benefit from that because she is not a dark-skinned woman. So not only do you have the colorism aspect to it, now you have people that are literally playing dumb and trying to play identity politics because they don't know what the fuck they be talking about in the first place. So yes, I do think that it is significant that she is the first female vice president. But because of how intersectionality works, the very bottom thing in that list is her being a quote unquote black woman, which isn't even really true in the first place because she's a biracial woman. Yes, she's part of the black community because she's black. She's one of her parents is black. But because she hasn't been raised, and I say raised with emphasis because her mother is Indian and she primarily stayed with her Indian mother. Because she wasn't raised like one of us, we don't even really see her as one of us. The only people that are really calling her black are black Democrats, black liberals, and black people who just need something to cling on for a win at this point because they just got through 4 years of Trump and they don't even know that wasn't even the worst thing that happened to you. So when it comes to all that shit, I also think it's pandering at its highest. I also think it's, just a
Um,
way for people to shut the fuck up.
did someone call in and join the group? What the fuck?
What?
No, I was just
Tony, is
wondering.
that you? Hello, Tony,
Yeah,
is that you?
yeah, it's me.
All right, what's up? Go ahead, continue, Father.
I'm gonna clown you for that, Dion, because you got scared like a motherfucker. I heard your voice. You said, "Oh, who that?"
I wasn't scared. I was just confused.
It's the boogeyman. It's the boogeyman.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, it just seems like pandering to me. Like for real, it just really, really seems like pandering to me because again, like, yeah, we can acknowledge that she's a biracial woman that became vice president of the United States. That's it. You know what I'm saying? She's Jamaican and she's Indian. That's it. It doesn't have to be this sister girl. Oh my God, this is such a big win for the black community. No, the fuck it's not. Because if you look at her history, she was very, very, very influential in getting a lot of black people locked up in the first place. So,
Big
hey,
facts.
but what do I know? I'm just a black man, weak link.
Dion, it's on you.
I mean, there's nothing else to say about that shit. Father done hit everything.
All right, Tony, we was just talking about Kamala Harris being vice president. Is it symbolism or is it significance? What do you think?
Man, I don't know. Because I think like if I chose any one of them, it's I guess you got to find out like how she is vice president to answer that, because a lot of people change when in a different position of office.
That's actually pretty reasonable. I can't even knock that. Um, but I guess I'll go. I guess the one thing I wanted to realize because I want to look back at Obama years is like, is it similar? Like, because you got to ask the same thing for the Obama years. Yes, I do believe he did do a uh, do a good job as being president without really having that really big scandals and all that other stuff. But I would be lying when I said like most of that is symbolism because I know there was majority of people that did voted for him because he was black. Like he did have the most black voters out there voting for him just because he was black. Now, although he did a good job and all that stuff, you cannot knock that there is some type of significance there where like even your grandparents could say, I lived long enough to see a black president to be in the United States. So with that being said, I feel like the same motions are going on Kamala Harris, which is I don't I don't think symbolism is a problem, but what's the symbolism if you don't get shit done? And that's where I feel like she really will be judged at if she's going to get shit done. And the one thing, there's two things I wonder if she's going to get the same type of flock that Obama got because they ran Obama like especially like Fox News and shit. Like anything Obama did, Obama could have like sneezed and like Fox News had a week long story about him sneezing and shit. Like I think he wore a tan suit, and a lot of people just got on him. There are people, especially like black Republican men, which makes me sick to my stomach. Like they still calling Michelle Obama a man, even though there's like pictures of her as a little girl. But since it's like those people are really fucking stupid. And like I don't look, I'm not gonna say she's like I don't think she's ugly, but I'm not saying she's like the baddest thing smoking, but obviously she's not a fucking man. But back to Kamala. One thing, if she's going to be, I would like to see her do some shit that, hell, I would honestly say that Barack couldn't even get done. But I know like the obstacles Barack had to go through, like this, I believe the Senate was Republican and some shit. Like he had the House and the Senate as Republicans. So anytime he like had laws, like they would try to veto it. So I know he had that going for him. But for with Kamala, I don't know. If we got both the House and Senate. I know we got one of them. I think we got the Senate, right?
Huh? Say it again.
Do we have the Democrats? Do they have the House and the Senate?
They had the House, I believe. I don't think they had the Senate.
Yeah, at least we have that House. We got something that could help pass laws for Black America if they do something for Black America. So I think she's set up with more of leeway of getting shit done than Obama really did, in my opinion. So and I think a lot of young girls can really look at this and say, "Oh wow, first female vice president." And I think a lot of people voted for Joe Biden just because of Kamala, which is really weird because if that was the case, y'all should have had Kamala running against Trump instead of Biden. But I guess a lot of people thought
Mm-mm.
Biden. You would think. No, I'm just saying. I know you like disagreeing, but you would think so. Like there were people's like, I'm not really voting for Joe. I'm more or less vote for Kamala. So, and I think that's why Joe Biden put it on there, put her on the as vice president too. Because I remember Charlemagne was talking about if for Joe Biden to win, he needs to have a black woman as a vice president. And just like, and I don't even think like Charlemagne was looking at it from she could be the right woman to do the job, but more or less the symbolism is try to get all the black votes. So there's a lot of things looking at it. So I think yes, part of it, like Father said, it is both, but I'm leaning more towards symbolism. But I do want to see her get shit done in the office. So, any last words on this before we move on to our next topic?
So, Ray, you said something that I actually disagree with. You said that you brought up the point where Charlemagne said that if Biden wants to win, she needs a black woman president. He picked Kamala, and that Kamala would be getting a lot of votes because people would subconsciously want Kamala, because Joe Biden picked her as vice president. And I disagree with that because when they were picking the Democratic nominee, Kamala Harris was one of the very first people to drop out. And what did she say before she dropped out? So if you think I'm going to do anything that's going to benefit black people, no, right? And that was one of the biggest things that actually killed her political career when it came to running for president in 2018, 2019. So I have
No,
to
actually,
go ahead.
Hmm?
Go ahead, Tony.
Go ahead.
Now I mean my bad for interrupting. I was gonna wait till you finish, but she had some in her campaign. Somebody was complaining about sexual harassment in her campaign that was in her cabinet, and when the news broke out, that's why the reason why she left, and that's why she dropped off the race because of that, because she started losing momentum because of that too. Also, could be both, but it was one of them things too.
I actually forgot about that.
You remember that shit? Yeah, man. And it got
Yeah,
real big on
now
the board.
I actually
I never knew about that. I actually never knew about that. I just thought she dropped out.
holy shit. Nah. Yeah, nah. Actually, Tony brought up a good point. I actually forgot about that. I remember reading about that like when it first came out. This was like last year too. So it was a while
Yeah,
ago, but I actually forgot about that. And another thing is, so what's funny about it is she also accused Biden of sexual harassment too.
Oof.
yeah,
So I found that very interesting. And then the busing shit she was talking about in one of those debates, and then she said
Yeah.
one of those kids was being shit. Bro, I'm telling you, come on, Kamala, she's sus. I'm telling you,
She's sus. Uh,
she's sus.
I don't have a problem. Okay, I don't have a problem with anything you disagreed on my point, but I will say this: there was, even though she did say what she did say about the just helping the black community. There's a lot of black Democrats that was like riding for her that swept that under the rug and all that other stuff, and was still trying to push her around. Matter, and this is why I really think like that's how she got on and all that other stuff. Even like with all the sexual harassment, I'm thinking like that. Even Joe Biden was like, if they put her on it, maybe like that shit would just go away. And it kind of worked because like people kind of like got back on. I don't want to say good graces, but people was like fucking with her again, except for the black men, because obviously, um, what 80 was it? 87% of black men only voted for Biden, and like what 91% um voted for Biden and all that other stuff. So
They said 91% of black women and 80% of black men.
I thought it was like 87. It went down to 80.
Yeah, I don't know. They were all saying different shit for black men. The one I saw said 80.
God damn. Okay, so let me ask you a question about that. What do you think that signifies that, 91% of black women voted for Biden and only 80% of black men voted for Biden? What do you
Okay,
think about this?
let me explain this because I actually had a lot of mad ass people in my mentions because they didn't understand what the fuck I said. So first things first, let me make one thing clear. Nobody is saying that black women should not be praised for their, activism or whatever they're doing or their voting numbers or anything. Nobody is saying that they shouldn't be praised. Obviously, black women put in a lot of work and they're going to get their praise. But when you are being praised by institutions that have never helped you in the first place, that's when my antennas go up. And that's when black men's antennas go up. There was a lot of people that was actually pointing this shit out. It's like, bro, they're really pandering with black women because that's what it was. It was pandering. But you had these neoliberal new black women coming up on social media talking about why can't y'all just let black women have this W? And I'm like, what W? Please tell me what the W is. I would love to know because you voted in somebody that has harmed the black community in so many ways. But Joe Biden is part of the reason why a lot of brothers in the 80s and 90s got locked up. So again, what W are we celebrating? Are we celebrating the fact that black women were very instrumental in getting rid of Donald Trump? Because if you want to do that, then fine. But do not let these motherfuckers big you up. The same people that lock your brother up, that'll lock your father up, that'll lock, black men up in general. And that's what we was trying to point out. But the conversation kept getting lost because people just kept focusing on the symbolism aspect of it instead of what the fuck it really was. And I had to keep explaining this to people. It's like nobody is saying that black women don't deserve to be celebrated. Nobody, no self-respecting black person would ever have that type of sentiment. Of course, black women need to be celebrated, but If you gonna let these motherfuckers celebrate you, I want nothing to do with it. Because these are the same people that be like, oh my God, black women, 91%, they really showed up. And they're gonna ignore your ass for the next 4 years. Because they done it like countless times. That was the entire point that I was trying to make. That was the entire point that a lot of brothers was trying to make, actually, and a lot of sisters too. Because the sisters who was on code, it was breaking all that shit down more than us. So I'm sad that they use this 91% to try to lull black women into this sense of, man, we really did something great for the country. When is the country gonna have that same energy for you? When is the country gonna benefit for 91% of the black women that voted? I want to know.
Mm.
Not only, just to piggyback off of that, not only like they was putting black women on a higher pedestal, which I don't have a problem with that, but it seemed like they was trying to knock black men off that pedestal at the same time. It's just like
Woo!
you could raise one up without knocking off the other, and that's the problem when I had, especially like I saw this one article. It was just like 55% of white women was voted for Trump, and 18% of black men was voted for Trump. And I'm like, what about the 32? What about the 32% of Latinos that was voting for Trump? I said, if anything, Latinos shouldn't be voting for Trump as much as like we are. I said, what about the Latino women that was voting for Trump? What about the Asian community that was voting for Trump? It's like you
And
skip
them motherfuckers
all
barely
those
vote.
motherfuckers. Yes, and all those motherfuckers was higher than black men. Out of all that, black men and black women were still the lowest. Yes, it was like 18%, but we was still the fucking lowest. Why was we looked at and not everybody else looked at? And I know I said this last week. If I was Mexican, it's like, why would I vote for Trump? The nigga like tried to like take away my family,
Did you know who
like,
that is?
or like somebody I know. It's like you put these motherfuckers in cages and like separate these kids away from their families. You think I'm gonna vote for that? It's like, why would I, like, me as a, like, if I was a Latino, why would I vote for that? But yet, like I said, especially in Florida in the Dade County area, and I know most of that was like Puerto Ricans and all
Oh
that was
God.
voting, but the Latino community was really out there voting for Trump. So I didn't like I said, I didn't like the fact that black men was getting thrown under the bus again. And like I said, I don't like I will let black women have this victory. I do not mind. It doesn't hurt me that black women want to celebrate them going out there and getting Trump out the office. That's fine, but don't throw black men under the bus while you're doing it. There's a lot of other people because there was plenty of other people that came out and voted for Trump twice as much as black people did. Anybody else got anything to say before we move on to our next topic?
Nah,
Well,
you hit.
about the number of white women who were voting for Trump, I recall that number being a lot higher. I thought, correct me if I'm wrong. What did you say that number was?
I just threw out a number. I said 55, but I'm pretty sure it may be higher.
It
Maybe even in the
was
60s.
it was in the upper 60s, if my memory serves correct, for the number of white women who were supporting Trump.
I will say this: white women supported Trump more than white men did, so that really means something.
I just wanted to I just wanted to mention that quick fast.
Okay. Anybody else have something to say?
Nah, I mean, you hit it the nail on the head with you saying that they were trying to big up black women and put down black men at the same time. Because that was another thing that I noticed. They were trying that fuck shit, and then when we were trying to call that shit out, because obviously black men, we're not just gonna let ourselves get slandered. You know what I'm saying? That's how I knew it was a fucking agenda. Because why would you big up one and not the other? You feel me? Like that's how I knew that this shit was agenda. It had an agenda, and it was really trying to separate black men and black women. And they're trying to put this, oh, black women on are the super women of America. They really saved America. And I'm like, yeah, but if you call a black woman strong, they probably get mad at you because that's a burden. You feel me? Why the fuck are they burdened with saving the country when your motherfucking asses didn't do it 4 years ago like we told you to do? You know what I'm saying? And it was black men and black women that was saying that shit. So it's an agenda. The media ain't shit. I'm telling y'all.
Shout outs to Eva Longoria. She tried. She tried it. Shout out
Ooh, she fucking tried it. Ooh, she fucking tried it.
she tried it. That was hilarious. It's just, but on to our next topic. Father, you wanted to talk about the Ken and De'Ara situation, and I looked at it a little bit because I'm not really big on like YouTube couples and all that other stuff, but I know they have like 6 million subscribers on their YouTube, and I guess my man Ken got caught cheating. So you want to talk about that? The floor is yours.
Yeah, I only wanted to talk about it briefly. I'm not gonna go too much into it because I don't really care about these niggas, but I just found it very interesting. You have a YouTube couple, and they're a brand at this point. These two were engaged, and they were making all the money in the world just being a couple. You know what I'm saying? But one thing I noticed is that De'Ara, the girl, bro, she was doing makeup, she was doing modeling, like she had a whole bunch of little side hustles. You know what I'm saying? And it felt like with the dude Ken. I ain't really even really hear much of him. So when I found out that he got caught with another girl, and not only, and here's what's really interesting, the girl that he got caught with was light skinned. De'Ara is dark skinned. So I found that very, very, very interesting. But at the same time, like these two are very young. You know what I'm saying? They're like 24, 25 years old. They successful as hell. They got all that money, and all that shit comes from YouTube. But I guess my point is that you know what I'm saying? Stop investing all your time and all your hopes into these YouTube couples because, when you do that shit, you're projecting your hopes and aspirations onto them. And then when they fail you, you feel like everything in the world is not okay. And that was the case with a lot of people. Like this shit was trending on Twitter. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, yo, y'all are fucking invested over a couple y'all will never meet in your life. You know what I'm saying? Now, it's one thing to be inspired by people, but it's another thing to invest in people the way these people do, these celebrities and these YouTube couples and people on the internet who are internet famous and shit like that. And then you have that stan culture and like these motherfuckers, y'all are way too invested in people that you will never meet for the rest of your life. And it's actually getting to the point where your moods are affected, your states of minds are affected. Like, yo, deprogram yourself from that shit. You feel me? It's not always like these people are human beings too. They gonna fuck up regardless of whether you like it or not. Stop putting them on that pedestal because that's too much pressure. If I ever become a famous person and I ever had stands or someone had that type of energy towards me, I would hate that shit because now you're projecting shit into me and I'm supposed to uphold this image that you see of me and if I fuck up or if I act human then you're going to look at me like I ain't shit. So stop putting these certain types of people on a pedestal and actually, invest that type of shit back into yourself. If you want a relationship like that, then develop yourself to be someone who is worthy to have that type of relationship instead of just placing all your hopes and dreams into this one couple. Because there was a lot of people that was fucking wilding, like, oh my God, love is dead. Ken cheated on De'Ara. And I'm like, that is a nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a nigga. So I don't know what they expected. I don't know why they thought that the shit was gonna be a happy ever after, but this is life. Now, like people gonna fuck up. If De'Ara wants to take Ken back, that is within her right. She's part of she's in a relationship that she invested a lot of shit in. All I know is that if they do get back together, the trust is not gonna be the same. And that's all I really got to say on that. So yeah. Invest the love back into yourselves. Stop fucking obsessing over these YouTube couples.
Anybody else got anything to say on this topic? No. Okay. Uh, I think Father done hit the nail on the head. So with that being said, I guess we can move on to our final topic, which is like the PS5 and the Xbox Series S has been launched, and just like on time, like there are people that are experiencing problems with their systems. Like the PS5 is like overheating, and there was smoke coming out of Xbox Series X. Gentlemen, do you think we will ever get a next gen product where like shit doesn't go awry, or do you feel like this is always going to be the way the world?
Let me say something about the Xbox thing. That was actually a prank. Someone did. Someone blew one of them, the
I
smoke
was
out of
about to
one of them
say that.
fucking vape pens or whatever
I was about
into the back of an Xbox to make it
I was
seem
about to
like
say
it was
that.
smoking or whatever the fuck. That's been debunked. That was bullshit.
I was about to say that. Yeah.
And also, first of all, I don't have the type of money to even spend on either of the motherfucking systems. Let's start with that. Secondly, people need to just stop buying these shits on the launch date. Stop, because there's always going to be some form of bugs or whatever the fuck that they gotta fix. You know, because they rush to put these systems out. They don't fix everything. Not to mention you're just subjecting yourself to being a test dummy at that point. Let this shit sit on the shelf for X amount of time, a year, whatever the fuck. Force them to actually fix their shit and make sure there's absolutely nothing wrong with it before you go out and buy the shit. That's how they get you. Now they hit you with the cost of repairing this, that, and the third with the system, and all this other garbage. That's how they dupe you out of your money. They're intentionally selling you faulty shit. Never buy any of these shits on the launch date. Never. Everyone was so hyped
Uh,
to pre-order that shit, and now they mad as hell.
Tony, it's on you. What do you think?
Damn, fucking interception. Same. I was about to say the same about the Xbox. It was a prank. About the vapor pen, but I also agree too, man. I mean, I wouldn't buy no launch because I know that they would try to fix it on the next batch with all the stuff that was going on. That was an era that people was having problems with when they get the first system. And then it's stupid because it was motherfuckers buying that shit and flipping that shit on Facebook or eBay. $1,000, $1,200, $900 for the system. Like, man, y'all could suck a dick, man. That shit, no, man. The system will come out again with another batch in November. I mean, I think like next month or some shit. It's not that serious. It's not that many games on the Xbox or the PlayStation to make you like, I need this system. I mean, mostly all the games you could play that's on. I mean, for my Xbox, you could play on the new Xbox Series, and I think the same thing for the PlayStation. So, I mean, I guess it's just hype. Somebody just want the new, and then just want to get likes because they got the Xbox and shit. A lot of people just do stuff for the likes.
Father, you got anything to say?
First off, Dion, you messing up the game. Let them buy it so they can beta test it for us and see what the hell's going on with the system. Let them buy it. Anyway,
No, stop
yeah,
putting out
I
bullshit.
mean,
They need to stop putting out bullshit. Fuck that.
no,
No.
they're gonna put no. It's not that it's bullshit. These are hardware systems with a lot of advanced technology in it. It's not gonna come out perfect every single time. That's not an expectation that's realistic if you're in the tech industry. So stop that lie. It's not going to be perfect no matter what you do to it. It's going to have problems on launch day. Everything has problems in launch day. It's good for them to beta test it and see what the hell the issue is so they can fix it. How you going to know what not to fix if people aren't buying it? So the thing about the PS5 and the Xbox Series X is, I mean, I'm not really pressed about next gen, me in particular, because I have a laptop, even though it needs to be repaired, and I have over 200 Steam games. The only thing I'm really more worried about is like crossplay, and am I going to be able to play my friends even if they're in different brands? Because with cell phones, you can talk to other people. If I have an Android and someone has an iPhone, we're still able to text and shit like that. We're still able to play games on our phones online, regardless whoever has an Android or an iPhone. So I don't know why, you know, like they're still kind of hesitant on doing the whole crossplay thing exclusively. So I mean, games like Call of Duty prove that it's going to make you a shit ton of money. And, games like Fortnite have really, really like expanded, they really expanded their player base by making it crossplay across all platforms. And it's in a lot of platforms. As a matter of fact, cell phone people can play with console people. So when you have that level of crossplay, that is a very, very, very powerful thing to have. Now you can also focus on the exclusive aspect. Just have exclusive IPs for those consoles. You know what I'm saying? Xbox has Halo. PlayStation has God of War. If you want to do that, you can create UIPs that could be exclusive for each system, and then your power, and then depending on how good the game is or how good the brand is, people are going to buy your console, accordingly. But at the same time, don't what I don't want to happen is this like almost I don't want the console wars to happen again, first of all. And second of all, I also don't want this trend where they release a console and then 7, 8 years later another one comes out. You know what I'm saying? Because I still feel like the PS4 and Xbox One generation went way too fucking fast because there was a lot of shit that was going on. You know what I'm saying? And the Switch, and then the Switch came out, and then they had different types of PS4s, then they had different types of Xboxes. I think they had the Xbox One S and shit like that. Like a lot happened to the point where it like the shit was just going too fast, and technology is like advancing at a certain rate. So because of that, people are going to have to replace their systems. And systems are not cheap. You know what I'm saying? Systems are usually bought by people who don't make a lot of money in the first place. Because ain't nobody with no money going to sit there and build like a $1,600 computer. You know what I'm saying? Even though that's the most optimal way. Most people who got them PCs are white boys with parents' money and shit. But the kids in the hood, all they got is whatever their parents got them. And consoles are a very good way of giving them that access. So I don't want it to be where they're making them PCs and they have to shell out all this money in order to play the games that they want. I think there should be a way for them to make it more accessible for people who don't have that type of money.
One thing, and Father, you can answer this question because I never got this, and maybe it's a business thing, but why is it every time when they launch, it seems like there's never enough, or they don't put enough out there when you could tell, like when people line up for it just to get the game, like how like remember back in the days when like a new Madden or GTA come out, like when they had the midnight release, people will be out there but there's never like enough for the pre-orders. So I always wonder why do they do that? It seems like instead of like, wouldn't it be like smarter to overbook instead of underbook? Because you can still like even if you sell out, you can still have stuff for the next day. I don't know. Is it more of a business thing or they
I
just
mean,
I
underestimate?
can answer that. I can answer that too.
go ahead.
You go first.
Um, so me, what I think it is like I don't even really think that they're underselling it. I just think that the I just think that the marketing has really stepped their shit up to the point where a lot of people who have the money who have the money and are interested are just gonna buy it. You know what I'm saying? There's not gonna be no hesitation. And I also think that a lot of people don't even research what they buying. You know what I'm saying? And this was a huge issue in the gaming community because I'm pretty sure you heard those stories of parents buying their kids certain game and then getting butthurt because they found out the game is rated M and they didn't know. So I feel like there's an element of that too, except that it's a lot more prevalent in today's society because because technology has advanced so much, people don't even really take the time to research it. All they can do is just if they want to research it, it's just a quick YouTube video or somebody's gonna say some shit like, hey, I got this, and unboxing has become really popular nowadays and shit like that. So if motherfuckers want to do some research, they'll just like go to a YouTube video or some shit. So when it comes to like pre-orders and specifically for the PS5, I think the PS5, like PlayStation's marketing is like one of the best in the world. So of course they were gonna sell out. Like that's not an issue. And on top of that, it's a pandemic. People are stuck in their homes and shit. They was gonna sell that shit. You know what I'm saying? So I don't even really think it's underselling. I just think that uh the way that we are right now as consumers, we're gonna buy first and ask questions later.
Tony, you say you had an answer.
Yeah, I think a little bit different. I think it's about marketing. I think it's almost like, we're gonna put it just. I think it's about the thirst of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're gonna give you enough just for everybody to get real thirsty and build up the hype. Um, and then um, and then just make a name for itself. It would be the same thing when Jordans come out. People be lined up and they'll say, "Yo, we got this amount, so hurry, put your pre-orders in," and then make the thirst get all real big, and then come out with a bigger batch later, so people be wanting to get the product. And that's how my opinion of it. It's always like, they'll just make enough just to make the thirst real big and make people talk about it, and then build numbers up. Anytime you have a product, you don't want to put enough out for everybody. You want to put it just enough for people to talk about how good it is to build a name up.
I see where you're coming from. Maybe it's just me, and it's probably why I probably should take business class. I usually think like with things that are expected, like a PS5 or Xbox or like even like say Jordans. Well, because niggas get robbed for like you don't. One thing I don't want to do is get robbed for something that I spent a lot of money on. So that's which is kind of the reason why I never wore a North Face jacket in my life. Anybody that lives in the DMV, you understand. Like when like North Faces was like the hottest thing out, niggas was getting robbed for it. I don't know, niggas was getting robbed for their Helly Hansons, but it's usually along the same type of thing. So I don't know. I feel like with things that is going to sell out, I feel like you can like at least have a whole row or like whole 2 or 3 rows at a Walmart because that's what niggas is there for, and you could just even if you like overstock, I feel like with something like a PS5 or Xbox One S, you can sell out of that. So like with the Nintendo, I wouldn't do that because even though like people like the Switch and it's kind of affordable, like I know people are really iffy about the Switch, so I wouldn't do it with that. But at least with the PS5 and the Xbox, like I would probably like have at least in the electronic section it's like as many as PS5 as I get so I can like at least make money off it because especially around this time and Black Friday like people are going to want those PS5s and Xboxes for their Christmas and like you got the holidays coming up and all that stuff, so this is the time. Well, I know like we're in a COVID season right now, so I don't this is probably wouldn't work in this time, but I know that usually around this time, this is where people want to spend money because they want, especially like if their kids been good, you want to like treat them. If you like done had a good year, you want to treat yourself or something like that. So me personally, I would probably overstock, but you know what? But another thing about this, like I'm glad y'all like cleared up the one about the Xbox and that's a vapor thing. First of all, because I saw Xbox tweet about that. It's like, please do not vape around your Xboxes and all that other stuff. It's like, and they was like, I'm like the funny whoever tweeted that. He was like, I can't believe I had to say this because they know like there's stupid people out there. But I'm glad y'all cleared that up. And another um thing is I really wish, and maybe this is just like maybe that's why like the launches are beta tests, but they should really QA their shit before um even putting it out. That way that your product can last a while. But like Father said, some shit it just don't work like that. Like we done seen this continuously on launch day. I know PS3 had like one of the worst launches ever, in my opinion. Like that shit was bad. That launch day was bad. So I think it's always going to be that way. Any last words before we move on to our final thoughts?
I thought the 360s was worse.
Oh, the 360 was hella bad.
Red Ring of Death, baby.
Ugh, that shit was really really fucking bad. I forgot about that. Thank you. You just my